podium, raise your right hand, please.
The evidence you shall give the court and jury in the trial of this issue shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes, ma'am.
This way, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Melanie Bowling. I am 28 years old, and I'm a mama.
What is your city and state of residence? What town do you live in?
Glenville, Georgia.
And how long have you lived in Glenville?
Going on 8, almost 9 years now.
Okay. Are you a little nervous this afternoon?
I am, I'm sorry.
I'm always a little nervous in court too. It's all right. If you need a break at any point, just let me know. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you know the defendant?
I do.
How do you know her?
She used to live in the same neighborhood as me.
In Glenville, I presume?
Yes.
Okay. When you met her, how many children, if any, did she have at that point?
When I first met her, she had no kids.
Okay. And how did you meet her?
I met her through her ex-boyfriend, Cody Warden, which is her first child's father. I met him first because he lived out there and they started dating, and that's how I met her. And I looked at her and him as like little siblings that I wanted to help guide in the right direction. But that's how I met her.
And did you all live near one another for a period of time?
We did. We were right next door for a period of time, and then there was a period of time where she lived like walking distance from where I lived.
Okay. And then at some point, did she move away from Glenville?
Yes.
Okay. At the time that she moved away, did she have any children?
Yes, she had Zane.
Okay. So the time that she moved in near you would have been sometime shortly before Zane's birth?
Yes, it was about maybe 6 months or so before she got pregnant with him.
Before she got pregnant?
Yes.
And then was she living next to you, or next door to you during her pregnancy?
Yes.
And did she continue to live next door to you during the time that she actually had Zane?
Well, down a little bit, down the dirt road a little bit, but yes, it was still in the same neighborhood.
Okay, so you're saying by the time she had Zane, she had moved walking distance away?
Yes.
Was no longer right next door?
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about this. Let's kind of take chunks of time. Tell me about the nature of your relationship with her before she ever had Zane.
Well, I mean, like I said, Cody, I met him first, and he was going through a hard time. So, like, my husband and I took them in as, took him in as like a little brother to help guide in the right direction. She started dating him, and, I got good vibes from her at first. I never suspected anything bad, and I kind of try to guide her in the right direction too. She ended up falling pregnant, and when she did, she was young, and I can relate to that because I was a teen mom myself. So I wanted to help her in any way possible to, with her child and be that support.
Were you friends with her during her pregnancy with Zane?
I was.
And did you remain friends with her after she gave birth to Zane and had him as a newborn?
I did, yes.
And did you all spend time together during both of those time periods?
Yes.
Did you spend time with her around both her and Zane?
Yes.
Okay. Were you all still living in the same town at the time she gave birth to Quentin?
No. Well, I was, but she wasn't.
Okay. Can you tell me where she was and when she had left in relation to when she had Quentin?
So I know her and Cody moved to Alabama. That happened. And then I guess they broke up. She came back to Georgia to, I think, Waycross or somewhere, wherever Bubba Moss is from.
Waynesboro, sound right?
Waynesboro, yes, sir. I'm sorry, I get those mixed up.
That's right.
And she came back and she was staying with him in a camper, and she fell pregnant. They split up and she went back to Alabama, and Cody helped her.
And you've talked about your contact with her during the time she lived near you.
Yes.
Right, in the same town.
Yes.
Did you all have daily or near daily contact at that point?
When she was pregnant with Quentin, it was about almost every other day, if not weekly.
Well, I want to ask specifically about when she lived in the same town as you.
Yes, every day.
Okay,
Yes,
every
sir.
day at that point.
Yes,
And then after she moved, and I understand it sounds like she bounced around a little bit.
she did.
What
And
was the nature of your contact with her after she moved away from Glenville?
text message and phone call, FaceTime.
And how frequently did you say that you would have contact with her?
So when she got with Bubba, it kind of drifted off a little bit. And I don't know why. I can't tell you why, but we drifted off a little bit. And then she would, be contact out the blue. She'd call me, I text her, I call her, she texts me, vice versa, just to see how we are doing, I always checked in on her to see if she was doing okay, if the kids were okay, how they're doing, how big they are getting, stuff like that.
Did you talk to her on the phone regularly during her pregnancy with Quentin?
Yes.
About how often?
She updated me, with every appointment that she had.
Did she talk to you during those phone calls about things that were going on in her life?
Yes.
And tell me again how you viewed the nature of your relationship with her.
I viewed her, like I said, as a little sister that I wanted to help guide in the right direction.
So you were close.
Yes.
During her pregnancy with Quentin, well, you're having this regular telephone contact with her.
Mm-hmm.
Did it include calls?
Yes.
Did it include text messages?
Yes.
Did it include FaceTime?
Yes, a couple times so I could see Zane.
Did you ever catch up over fairly long phone calls, or are we talking
yeah.
about like 1 or 2 minute things?
No, these were hour-plus long phone calls.
And that's during her pregnancy with Quentin?
Yes.
During that type of contact that you described, did she talk to you about the state of her relationship with Quentin's father, Henry Bubba Moss Jr.?
It was rocky. They were fighting a lot. Then was a time where they did break up, and she was depressed. She made some comments to me that were concerning, but they fought a lot.
Like what kind of comments?
The comments which I, at the time, wanted to think maybe she was depressed and going through something. That was my thought process, but thinking of it now, I don't know. But she would say how she wished maybe if I didn't have Quentin, if I would have had the abortion like Bubba wanted me to, he would still be here.
Now, is that something she said to you after Quentin had been born?
She has mentioned it after and while she was pregnant, yes.
Okay. And how did you react to those kind of comments?
It shocked me. I mean, I was what? Coming with, I have 3 kids myself. I'm not the one to judge, someone on abortions and stuff, but she didn't want to have one, and that's on her, okay? But I did not. It was really shocking. I didn't agree with it, in my opinion. That's my opinion.
I want to ask you a couple more questions about those kind of remarks.
Yes.
You said that she made those remarks but before Quentin was born and after Quentin had been born.
Yes.
Roughly how many times would you say you remember her saying things like that?
Off the top of my head, but while she was pregnant with him and right after he was born, I'd say about 2 or 3 times.
Okay. And you said that the nature of the comment was maybe if I had had the abortion, Bubba would still be with me. And that was a remark she made both before Quentin was born and after he was born.
Yes.
Can I conclude from that then that Bubba had already left her before Quentin was born?
Yes.
There's at least, sounds like one or two times where she said this, like, while Quentin was a newborn.
Yes. A newborn and while he was older, too.
Now, I want to kind of move forward in time. Did you remain in contact with her to one degree or another over the phone throughout Quentin's short life?
Yes.
Okay. And let's say from, between Quentin's birth to October of 2022, how often would you say you were in contact with her during that time frame? And I understand it's like a year and a half.
Yes. So, I'm trying to think. So she came to my son's party in 2019 with Danny. I asked her to bring the boys, and she said that her mom had
Let me
them.
just ask-
I'm sorry, but I'm trying to remember.
No, it's fine.
What was the question again, sir?
Okay. About how often were you, let's just talk about, I don't know, the year leading up to October of 2022,
Okay.
when Quentin is no longer a newborn, okay?
Yes.
How often would you be in contact with her at that point?
At that point, so it could be weekly sometimes, and then it would jump from weekly to monthly. And then I would have to be in contact with her. I would sometimes not get any contacts back for a few months. Then it come out the blue, she'll contact me and we can go from talking to each other for like 2 weeks straight, and then there'd be gaps again.
But in any case, it sounds like you never cut off contact completely.
No,
And would you, during this time frame, would you still sometimes have these long, extended phone conversations with her?
we did.
And would she talk to you about things that were going on in her life?
Yes,
And could you hear the children in the background at times?
always.
Was there ever a time on any of these calls that you heard anything concerning directed towards Quentin?
I mean, besides, may I repeat what was said? It's cursing. Or should I blurt it?
Whatever your response is, you may give it.
Yes, ma'am. I wanted your permission.
So the rules here are, if you're, quoting, we would ask that you not just like insert your own.
No, I just want hit
But
what she
if-
exactly
If you're
said.
quoting somebody, yeah, tell us what you heard.
Okay. There's been times when she has been getting on to Quentin, saying, "Will you get the fuck down, you stupid little shit." She will call them assholes, "You little assholes. I told you to go do this. Now go do what the fuck I said before I beat your ass." Called him a bastard child out of anger. I guess he was doing something like climbing on the table, and she told him to get down several times. And she's like, this is why I wish I never had you, wish I would have aborted you, and stuff like that.
And I just want to make it clear the circumstances in which you're hearing this. Are you physically present with her when you're hearing these things?
No, sir.
All right. You're on the phone with her.
Yes.
And you can hear her saying these things over the phone.
Yes.
Okay. Let's kind of break these things down. You said something about her calling him a bastard child and saying
Yes.
something about his dad.
Yes.
Tell us what you remember about that.
I know when she would get really frustrated with him that she can be unpredictable and say things very harshly that a normal mother would not say. And about, I wish I never had you. Wish I would have had an abortion. I wish I never had your dad. Got with your dad, so I would have never had you. Stuff like that.
And are you sure she was referring to Quentin?
Yes.
And how do you know that?
Because she would yell, "Quentin, what the fuck did I just tell you?" And then go on with what I just said.
I think you also mentioned asshole or something.
Yes, asshole. For him acting like a 15-year-old acting, or a 15-month-old acting like an asshole.
Could you tell over the phone what he was doing, or if anything, or what was going on that caused her to have these outbursts?
I could hear the kids like, playing, screaming, running around, like what kids do. I have 3 kids myself, 2 boys and a daughter. So boys being boys, they get rough with each other. And, that happens, okay? But instead of like, hey, you guys need to keep your hands to yourself, time out and do the separate them or whatever, she would start cussing and snapping and yelling and calling names. Now,
how would you react, if at all? I don't know whether you...
I was speechless, sir. I would try to be like, hey, calm down. You're just mad. You don't need to be saying those kinds of things. You don't mean it, thinking, she didn't mean it. That was my assumptions. Okay, but I would try to calm her down and be like, hey, chill out. Like, take a breather. They're just kids. They're little kids. Like, this is going to happen.
Did you ever hear anything that sounded... you've talked about... What you've talked about to this point, would you characterize it as verbal abuse?
Yes, and I've heard her whip them, but I can't, like I said, it's whooping, so I don't know if she's using her hand on their butt. I don't know what she's using. It's on the phone call.
Okay, so for that, you're saying you can't say whether it was or was not reasonable parental discipline?
Exactly.
But you've heard stuff like that?
Yes.
Okay. Did overall, based on all your interactions with her and all your observations, did you develop the impression that she felt differently about Quentin than she did about Zane?
Yes, because every time I would speak to her, she would always speak highly about Zane and her youngest one after she was born, but never about Quentin, even though he was the sweetest little thing ever.
What kind of things would she say about Zane? Because you said this.
Talking about, how well he is, how smart he is, how he knows his ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, so on and so forth, the potty training, stuff about Cody and her, just talking highly about him and how good he's doing from when I last seen him as a little baby.
And do you remember hearing anything like that about Quentin?
No.
Just to be clear, did you ever yourself physically meet Quentin?
I have never physically met Quentin, no.
And is that because you all didn't, you all had already, she had moved away
right.
at the time before she had?
But yes, I have FaceTimed him after he was born and seen him, I FaceTimed him and Zane and Sky when she was a little baby too.
One moment, please.
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Bowling, you said that you met Ms. Simon in 2019 with Danny?
No, I met her in 2017, 2018 when she was dating Cody.
All right, maybe I misheard. You said you met her in 2019 at a birthday party with Danny.
She brought Danny to my son's birthday party that I invited her and her children to come to in 2019.
Okay, so you're saying that Danny Youngkin attended a birthday party with you in 2019 with Miss Simon, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that's the hill you're going to die on?
I believe that was Danny, yeah. That's who it looked like.
All right. Are you aware that she didn't meet Mr. Youngkin until 2020?
Say that's not what I'm not aware of. I'll say because she brought that man to my birthday party.
Well, you just sat here under oath and said it was Danny Youngkin, Ms.
That's
Bowling.
what she told me, that was his name, Danny, that she was bringing through messages on Facebook Messenger, sir.
Ms. Bowling, when was the last time you actually physically... Well, let me ask you this. When did you ever physically meet Quentin Simon?
I never physically met him.
Okay. So in 20 months of his life, you never once saw him in person, correct?
Correct.
Right. And when was the last time prior to that that you had met and hung out with Miss Simon?
Prior to his birth.
His birth.
Okay, prior to his birth was the birthday party, 2019.
Okay. So at least 2.5 years prior, well, maybe a year and a half prior to his birth then?
Well, actually, that was, yeah, roughly, yeah.
Okay. So at that point in time, had Zane been born?
Yes.
Okay. So, now you said that originally y'all would talk every day.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was weekly, then it was every other week, then it was monthly, then it was every few months, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Not really a strong friendship there, is it?
Well, sir, we did have a very strong friendship, but again, like I've said before, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And the path she was going down was a path that I clearly could not help her out
And
of.
Miss Bowling, you and Miss Simon started smoking weed together in 2017, so let's not pretend this is some sort of
Oh,
Sunday
yeah,
school
you're
thing.
right, sir, okay? But the thing is, I never done cocaine, I never did ecstasy, nor pills.
Okay,
That was in 2017, sir.
that was.
That was a long time ago. And I don't anymore.
Okay, well, congratulations to you. And that being said, was that the reason y'all hung out, was to smoke weed together?
No. The reason well, maybe for her, because she likes to use people. But to me, it was, hanging out with Cody, helping him get back on his feet because of what he had to endure and go through at that time, which is a different matter from this court.
You have some rather unique beliefs, don't you, Miss Bowling?
Beliefs.
Yes,
Can you define that, please? Or elaborate it for me, please?
I can. Do you remember meeting with Mr. Dean on August 13th of this year?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember telling him about some experiences you had on August 13th and conveying those to him? Okay. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, but did you not tell him that you had communed with Quentin Simon's ghost?
Yes. And if you would like, I can actually do it here and show you guys.
Oh, please, by all means. I would love to see this.
Give me a holy Bible and a candle. And yes, sir.
So, that being said, you told Mr. Dean this, correct?
I sure did.
And you said, and correct me if I'm wrong, your husband videotaped the seance, correct?
He did.
And anytime I'm making a misstatement as to what you said that Quentin Simon spoke to you through a candle.
He spoke to me through images.
Okay?
Okay, when I was in my trance, I couldn't see anything except for what he was showing me and what he was telling me as a 15-month-old could do.
Okay. And so he was a 15-month-old ghost speaking to you. Please tell me about this. I would love to hear it.
Okay, so this is what I did, and I lit my candle, had my Bible out, and I prayed. I asked if I could reach out to Quentin Simon. And here he comes, behold. Do I see him physically? No. But here he is, and he is Mama Mel. That's what I was always called by them. Mama Mel, help me. I said, with what? I said, help me help you. What happened? He said, Mommy hurt me. I asked him, how did he hurt you? Or how did she hurt you? Sorry. And he told me, she hit me in the head really hard. I said, okay. I was like, what else? And I said, did you, get any candy, thinking maybe he got into drugs or something? And he said, no. I said, okay, where are you? And he threw me the star of the church that's next to the landfill on that dirt road right there next to Little Neck Road on the dump. He showed me exactly where he was in that pile with his arm hanging out, lifeless, gray, and there's blood in a bag that looked like it used to be like a bluish purple color. And he's throwing up blood. After I closed out the seance, I prayed and I said, I wish you peace and to pass on peacefully, and you'll get the justice you need. Okay, I prayed, closed it out. That was that. Blew out the candle, turned on the lights, and my hoverboard that both my son had, that was completely destroyed because he took it through a mud puddle. When you take a hoverboard, electric hoverboard through a mud puddle, it's done. It started turning on and off by itself and moving, even though it's completely done for, and I've tried charging it and nothing.
And what date was this?
What day was that? That was, to be honest with you, is sometime in November of 2022. I don't know the exact date. I do not.
So this was after they announced they found remains in the landfill?
No. This is actually before the indictment report came out. I had the dream, which I told them already, but yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So it was in November, correct?
Roughly, maybe the end of October. It's in that time area. I also had a major craniotomy that year, so my memory's a little...
What's a craniotomy?
Where you have to have a major brain surgery. They take your skull off, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So you had a craniotomy,
I did.
and you told all this to Mr. Dean?
To Mr. Yes.
Mr. Dean. That's all the questions I have.
Melanie, is it fair to say that I brought you into my office to talk about concrete things that you heard the defendants say over the years about Quentin?
Yes.
Okay. And that you volunteered the information about the seance, right?
I did. Because I don't know if you guys recognize that kind of stuff or not.
And do you remember me telling you, well, I have to tell the defense about this because it's a thing you've said as a witness, but that it's seance information is not admissible in court.
Exactly, yes, sir.
And do you remember acknowledging pretty even-handedly that you understand that not everybody believes in these things?
I do, and that's why I didn't want to speak upon it like that. Yes, sir.
Now, you've said that you had a Bible with you while you were doing this,
Yes.
and it was a Christian Bible.
Yes, sir. I was baptized and raised as a Christian.
Do you remain a practicing Christian?
I sure do, sir.
Do you consider this some sort of a prayer practice, what you're describing?
Yes, sir. I mean, in a way.
Do you consider it a private matter?
A private matter? Yes.
How does it feel to come into court and essentially get made fun of for it?
To be honest with you, it's kind of embarrassing because, like you said, not everybody believes in this kind of stuff. Unfortunately, I was born with a gift that I call a curse.
Now, does any of this have anything to do with the things that you heard her say about her son, both before and after his birth?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just one or two follow-ups.
Ms. Bowling, you're willing to hold yourself up to ridicule to get justice for Quentin, aren't you?
Excuse me?
Said you're willing to hold yourself up to public ridicule to get justice for Quentin, aren't you?
I guess so. I'm here to get justice for him, so.
What aren't you willing to do for Quentin's justice?
Well, I've done everything I can possibly for his justice.
Thank you so much.